Now let's talk about what is actually on the MCAT. So there are 4 sections on the MCAT, and we'll learn more about each one. First, let's focus on the science section. So the ones that involve biology, biochemistry, general chemistry, organic chemistry, and even psychology and sociology. All those different subjects fall into these sections. Okay, and for now, before we dive into exactly what is in each section, so for these science sections, the AAMC has come up with foundational concepts. Now, we don't need to go into detail right now on what those are, but they're pretty much these big ideas or big umbrella ideas for each of those different subjects. And within those big umbrellas or big ideas, you have content categories. You have individual topics and subtopics that you're expected to know for the MCAT. Okay, and there's a lot. The list goes on and on and on for each of the different subjects, but we won't bog you down with those details right now. Everything you need to know is in WISE's MCAT prep course, okay? And now the most important thing I want to focus on right now are the scientific inquiry and reasoning skills. Now, the reason why this is so important is because every single question on the MCAT will relate to one of these skills, and that's how the AAMC has designed the MCAT. Okay, so let's go over the skills. Skill 1 is knowledge of scientific concepts and principles, and that makes up 35% of the test. So this is questions like, do you understand this concept? Can you recall this concept? And these are the more easier types of questions, the ones that we're more used to being tested on from university, right? So these are our questions that we're used to, kind of like a university exam style question almost. Now, the tricky part about the MCAT, and the reason again why it's so unique, is because there are many different skill categories, and actually the main category here is scientific reasoning and problem solving, which will make up 45% of all the questions in all those different science subjects. Okay, so this will involve problem solving. So that means the answer is not just going to be laid out in front of you. You're really going to have to think and maybe use prior knowledge and use passage knowledge, and that can be a little bit tricky for some students at first. Skill 3 is reasoning about the design and execution of research. So this will make up 10% of the questions in the science sections. So this might be something like, in a passage, they'll describe to you some experiment where they'll say, experiment 1, this happens. Experiment 2, this happened. And then to give you an example of a question, it might say something like, in experiment 1, if we changed this part of that experiment, how would that affect the experiment? Or how would the end result be different? And so you're going to have to really reason about that experiment and reason about its design and execution to be able to figure out the answer there, as an example. Skill 4 is data-based and statistical reasoning, which also makes up 10%. So there are a lot of data in the MCAT, a lot of different figures, a lot of different plots, where you have to be able to quickly look at it, figure out what's going on, and be able to answer questions based on what you see in a plot. And so it's all very quick, right? We're not given so much time. We'll talk more about timing very soon. And that's, of course, another factor that makes this test pretty tricky. So the key takeaway here is that each question on the MCAT will test you on one of these skills, and it's going to be different from what we're used to.